What is the contribution of South Africa's agricultural sector to ensure food security in Southern Africa? And more importantly, what is the role of the informal agricultural market? Professor Ferdi Meyer from the Bureau for Food and Agricultural Policy discusses this in studio today. But first, over to Lisa for the news.
In vandag se nuus, volgens die voorlopige skatting van die Nasionale Oeskattingskomitee staan die oppervlakte onder kommersiële mielies nou op 2,6 miljoen hektar. Dit is 5,29% minder as verlede seisoen se aanplantings en 4,24% minder as die syfer wat in Oktober vrygestel is. Die voorlopige oppervlakteskatting vir sonneblomsaad is 580.000 hektar. Dit is 21,39% meer as die hektare wat verlede seisoen aangeplant is. Die oppervlakte onder alle somergewasse is 4,21 miljoen hektar altesaam. Dit is 0,4% meer as die vorige produksieseisoen. And according to Wandile Sehlobo from AgBiz, these plantings depicted by the Crop Estimates Committee are a relief as many analysts expected a much smaller area. Increases are seen in the plantings of sunflower seed and soya beans, with an estimated area well above the 10-year average plantings and a record area for soya beans. Although maize plantings declined, Sehlobo says it is well above the 10-year average area of 2,53 million hectares. He says, however, that various industry surveys and general observations suggest that areas which received heavy flooding could realize lower yields than the previous season. African swine fever has been confirmed in Teba Letu near George in the Southern Cape. The Western Cape Department of Agriculture's State Veterinary Services has served a quarantine notice on pig farmers in the area. Swine fever was also detected in KwaNonkaba outside Mossel Bay earlier this month. Minister Ivan Meyer of the Western Cape Department of Agriculture urged pig farmers to practice good biosecurity measures to ensure animal health and safety. Meyer said his department will continue to monitor the situation. And that's today's news. Professor Ferdi Meyer recently led a food dialogue at the Stellenbosch University to place the spotlight on the contribution of South Africa's commercial agriculture sector to ensure food security in Southern Africa. And he joins me now to talk about this topic. Ferdi, why and by who are these food dialogues being held? Just tell us more about that.
Yeah, it's the key driver behind it is the Faculty of Agri-Sciences at the University of Stellenbosch. Okay. And they have these dialogues, they invite various speakers, so not only economists or ag-economists, they've got a wide audience where they do these hybrid events. It's a wonderful experience. You have people in the room, a small audience, maybe 30, 40 people, and then they debate these topics. So whether it's on nutrition, food security, on the economics around it. So various topics that are discussed in this dialogue is streamed out in virtually, and then you also engage with students afterwards, where students have the opportunity, postgrad students, to ask around these topics and themes. So it's really a great initiative.
So it's an Africa focus, a
Correct.
Southern Africa focus.
Yeah.
Right.
So they get speakers all across the continent, and they can really have a dialogue of various interesting topics. So really something interesting to look at, but it's the Agri-Sciences, the Faculty of Agri-Sciences that's driving it.
So what came out of the discussion, if we look at the role of subsistence farmers and small-scale farmers to fill the gaps in the informal sector where commercial farming cannot go?
Yeah, we've been driving this topic or this idea around what's the value of this informal market, because to be honest, the numbers are not there. we only guesstimating how big this sector is. Just take context of Stats SA, their census on agriculture only reports on VAT registered commercial farmers. That's the 40,000 numbers that they're quoting. Our estimate, just through triangulation of the community survey, the household survey, if we piece these pieces of information together, there are about 200,000 commercial farmers that are reporting either primary or secondary income out of agriculture. We don't measure it. We don't know how big it is. They're doing commercial production. In other words, they're selling surpluses into the market somewhere. Then we have about another 2 million households that are reporting agriculture activity as a source of income. So the bottom line is here, we are under measuring completely what this total food system looks like.
So there's a gap.
There's a huge gap. We've done a dedicated study for the Pork Producers Organization. We've presented those stats a number of times, but when they had the outbreak of the African swine fever, they asked us to really look how big and to try and do a spatialized contextual piece. Where are these producers? Where are the pigs? Where are the informal pigs? Because that's where the biosecurity break is. And it's amazing. The numbers are staggering. So just the commercial herd, which supplies into the commercial retail markets, where you and I mainly buy, there are 1.4 million pigs. In the informal herd are almost 900,000 pigs.
Sure.
So we got that through triangulations and looking at household surveys. And then we started surveying these little pig operations, 10 pigs, 15 pigs, 20 pigs. And we built the economy around those, asking, which type of feed, where you're buying from, input costs, what's your market looking like, what prices are you selling? And if we put this whole economy together and we look at minimum wages, it's the equivalent of 23,000 jobs that only the informal pig sector is generating. So I think we just don't have a clue how much of this informal sector, what's its contribution. It can be, if you look at the cattle herd, 40% of the herd in South Africa is in the hands of black farmers and informal farmers. The productivity of that herd is extremely low. So we just need to understand and get support into these markets, get the right finances, technology, and assist them. They already are entrepreneurs in many cases. They are doing business.
So whose responsibility is that?
Well, that's a good question. So it mainly
actually government.
It's supposed to be. If you look at your functionality of government, the focus for government should be on the development side, to look after the smaller, the ones that cannot don't have the access to markets. But it's, the reality is we need a public-private partnership here. We can't just step away from private sector. Private sector is involved, but I think here now the balance comes in the sense of what's your mandate. So government can't also just pass everything the buck to private sector now. It really needs a public-private partnership, and the bottom line is we need to optimize the resources. There are huge amount or to a large extent we're wasting valuable resources, whether it's on the human or capital side, that can really be aligned and coordinated in a much better way to really grow the informal market.
Right, that's the subsistence or small-scale farmer. What other issues were discussed at this
we had interesting debates. There were two, I think, that I just wanted to highlight. The one is obviously on climate change.
Of course.
And your conservation agriculture. And the second one was on how do we commercialize informal farmers or get them onto the commercial chains, which I briefly mentioned.
Just discussed.
So let's just talk about the climate part. And this, for me, it's a difficult debate in the sense to have, as in South Africa, and I want to kind of cut this across into the African continent, number of our African countries, to have this debate while we have a food crisis and an employment crisis. It's, these are two different worlds. So yes, we want to have that vision of having and fostering and having sustainable farming practices. But you need to be on the ground and support the farmer to have those debates and to really get them food on the table, and that's the priority. Now, to do it in a sustainable way is the ideal, but I always challenge people that are saying only, cattle have a huge contribution to greenhouse gases. Yes, it's true, but if that's my only livelihood, tell that to the Kenyan cattle farmers. That's their only sense of income. So I think we need to have this debate at different levels, because it's
an emotional thing.
It's an emotional thing, and I think it needs to have practical, hands-on solutions for farmers in the African continent, in the African context.
Right. Ferdi, thank you very much. And we trust we'll see you in studio soon. And
I'll
again in 2022. Thank you.
I'll love to be back.
Right.
Thank you very much.
Professor Ferdi Meyer from BFAP, and he led a food dialogue at the University of Stellenbosch recently. And yes, he shared a few thoughts on that with us.
Goeiedag, in die week se termynmarkverslag sien ons dat die witmielie-prys gestyg het met 2.8%, die prys van geelmielies styg met 2.1%, koringprys styg met 1.7%. Dit terwyl die sonneblomprys gedaal het met 2.2% en die sojaboonprys gestyg het met 1.4%. Die Brent-olieprys het gestyg met 1.1%, terwyl die rand verswak het teenoor die vernaamste geldeenhede, teenoor die dollar met 2.3%, teenoor die pond met 0.9% en teenoor die euro met 0.5%.
BKB, die betroubare tuiste van landbou. BKB, the trusted home of agriculture.
Goeiemôre en welkom terug by Plaas TV se eerste veilingskalender vir 2022. Ek is Jean de Villiers en hier volg die volgende 2 weke se opkomende veilings. Ons skop hierdie week se veilingskalender op die 3de Februarie met die 20ste Prieska prestasie getoetste veldramveiling af. Hierdie veiling sal deur CDP auctioneers by die ORV Rivierhuis in Prieska aangebied word, met Corneille Du Plessis as afslaer op die dag. Die aanbod op die veiling sluit 20 boerbok ramme, 10 boerbok ooe, 20 van rooi ramme, 20 van rooi ooe, 35 wit dorper ramme, 20 wit dorper ooe, 45 dorper ramme en 30 dorper ooe in. Saterdag die 5de Februarie hou die Bosvelder studiegroep hulle jaarlikse elite veiling by die Warmbad Veemark in Bella Bella. Die aanbod op die veiling sluit 200 ooe en 25 ramme in. Hierdie veiling word deur Vleisentraal Bosveld aangebied met Stefan Greiling as die afslaer. Dan op die 9de Februarie het H&M Regigura Brahmane 'n totale uitverkoping van hulle Brahmaanstoet. So maak seker dat jy die veiling bywoon om te verseker dat jy nie uitmis op die aanbod wat 60 koeie, meestal 3 in 1, 15 dragtige verse, 18 oop verse, 1 beproefde stoetbil, 6 potensiële stoetbulle en semen van beproefde vaars insluit nie. Hierdie veiling word deur Simon Hughes Marketing by Silver Springs in Pieter Tief aangebied met Simon Hughes as die afslaer op die dag. Ons sluit dan die week se veilingskalender met die staakboerdery veiling van Wessel van Wyk se Bogermie boerdery af. Hierdie veiling word deur Noord-Kaap Lewende Hawe op die plaas Tipperary in Vryburg aangebied en sluit 'n aanbod van 25 bonsmara bulle en 230 bonsmara stoet en kommersiële vroulike diere in alle produksiestadiums in. Teens visser slaan die hamer op die dag. En dit is al van my kant vir die week se veilings. Tot volgende week. Totsiens.